Hi, I'm Jessica Hellenbeck with Signature Real Estate, and I'm here with my good friend Shelly Panzarella from Prosperity Lending, and we are going to talk about the most current market update. The July data is out. Let's talk about it. Big news, we just crossed the $400,000 mark. The median home price is now $405,000.
Wow. That's crazy. So that was beginning of the year, right? We were at $345 when we started January. That's insane.
Yes, and then if you compare from a year ago, we were actually just right when the pandemic happened, we were what, 315?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a really big increase.
It is.
From 1 year, that's a 22% increase. And what is really significant is that the increases are in $10,000 increments the last several months in a row.
Yeah.
So just last month it was $395.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just seeing the market in and of itself. I mean, we're hot in Las Vegas, but clearly we're hot in Las Vegas.
Right.
The market.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I actually printed another article and from a Yahoo Financial article that was quoting the National Association of Realtors. The median price for the existing home in the U.S. hits a record high of $363,300 in June, up 23.4% from a year ago and breaking previous records set from the prior month. So all-time highs everywhere, it seems like.
Yeah, across the board. But I'm noticing a little bit of a shift, a very small change. Now we're going to go through that today, which is, I don't know, some people are saying it's because of the season, right? It's a seasonality thing, school, everybody's on vacation. But I'm wondering what that will do for our sales prices moving forward.
I agree. So we have seen an increase in the number of availability, right? So the actual inventory has increased slightly, not enough to make a huge difference, but just it's been doing that for the last several months. So that's positive. But also what's unique is that the number of homes sold is higher than it was a year ago, and it's been like that. And so like when I look at the numbers, we had like 4,077 new listings. That's a pretty high number. So what it's saying is that the absorption rate is really high. Like as fast as we get them on the market, they're selling just as fast. And even though we're keeping a few houses that are staying on the market a little longer. So a lot of those houses that are staying on the market are overpriced. They're either tenant occupied, stuff like that. Yeah. I'm anxious to see the plateau that I feel could possibly start to show. So I'm hoping to see less than 10,000 increment next time.
Increase. And plateau being this, not this, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, can we just slow down?
Yeah.
That would be a breath of fresh air in my world.
I think Lauren Seun from NAR came out and also said that we will still see an increase, but it'll be a steady pace. It won't be this rapid increase that we've seen over the year. Yeah,
I actually have a quote from him. Lauren Seun, NAR chief economist, he noted that the supply had mostly improved in the recent months, in part because more housing starts, meaning we picked up building, and they kind of go on in this article and talk about how we have had such crunch in the amount of supplies for builders, that has hurt their market in the sense that they're not building as many homes, but that's all started to kind of pick up a little bit. And something I've noticed is that a lot of the builders are now selling their own inventory. They're building it to the halfway mark, and then they're putting it on the market. So Taylor Morris is now doing that. I saw some Toll Brothers. Pulte's still kind of doing their big bid process. But I think it's a smart move because they make sure that they get their cost out of the way. They design the house pretty nice and then just sell it like that. You don't get to choose everything.
So it's not that they no longer have a waiting list. It's just that they've chosen to basically what they call spec these homes out on their own, and then it allows a client to come in and basically have a quick close almost, right?
Yeah,
as opposed to waiting to build it themselves from permit up. Wow, I didn't hear that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've been noticing it a lot more, and I just sold one of those, and found out that a few of the builders were shifting to that model. So it's been kind of interesting. I think that's going to help because the amount of time for them to get to that place kind of, they didn't have as much to sell initially. So I think that's pretty good for our outlook. Yeah. But, I think the building supplies, hopefully we get this under control. The supply chains from all over the world, it would be great if we could smooth that out because that's causing a lot of our disruptions and yet keeping our prices up.
Well, they talk a lot about the manufacturing, even with like car parts, right? Everybody talked about how the inventory or the chip on a car part, and that was because the manufacturing sites were shut down, right? And now they're back, they're starting back and they're up to normal capacity. And so you're going to start to see that inventory, so to speak, come back into the market, whatever it may have been that was shut down. Even with lumber prices, I think a few months ago, lumber prices shot up, and now they're back down to what they were 6 months ago. So you'll start to see those things change, and I think it will bring us back to some normalcy just because everybody's hopefully getting back to normal.
Right, going back to car stuff, I mean, like, used car market's up right now, and there's just they don't have enough inventory because I would have thought it would have been the new cars would have been had a problem, but it hasn't been. It's been the used car inventory. So
it's kind of eerie to drive down our car row. What is it, Sahara? And it's like, where are all the cars? And you walk in there like, I have 6 cars to sell from the used side, and you can put an order for a new car, but it's still time frame and stuff. But it is happening more so for the used cars than the newers.
Yes. So just in stats, we're up to 0.9 months of inventory, which when we started doing this, we were down to half, and now we would go up to 6, and then we go to 7, and it's just creeping up a little bit. I'm absolutely looking forward to the day we're back to 2 months. Just one more click.
When was that? Like 2 months? Was that was it 19 or?
In 18, it was pretty tight in 2018. Yeah. It dropped down to, I think, a 1.5 month supply. Okay. And it was competitive. And that's something else I was thinking of is when I was writing offers then, they would be 5,000 increments above appraisal. So we would write an offer and we'd be like, the buyer will pay 5,000 above the appraised value, not to exceed the purchase price, and they would go up a little bit, like $5,000 above the ask or something to win the house. And usually whoever would get there first won. Yeah. And that was kind of how it worked. What I've noticed now, it's 10,000 on the median prices, or you just get beat out by cash.
Yeah. So that is, I think. People are forgetting also the cash component to all of this, that they're just coming in and they're buying over, right? They're not coming in and trying to undercut. Usually cash is king and they're coming in and everybody feels great about that, but they're actually bidding over on the sales price. Right.
I've read numerous articles that just have a lot of confidence in the real estate market as a place to invest. So it doesn't seem like it's going to stop right now, but at the same time, it almost feels like I think there's some buyer fatigue that had set in. I think that like when I went through this situation recently, we went through 5, 6 houses trying to put offers in, and we would be 10,000 above appraisal, and we could not win because it was just that competitive. Some of these houses get 20 offers, and we're talking about 400 to 350 price range. Yeah. And so I think sometimes people just decide to wait. I've heard a lot of that more recently. We'll see what happens in the beginning of the year. We always hear all the excuses that people make, but I personally think that rates are low, right? Let's talk about that.
They are still low. It's one of the things that I try to encourage people today. But I have a lot of clients that are still asking, are we in this housing crisis? Is this going to look like it was before? We've appreciated so much, and the biggest difference really is the interest rate environment. It is really all-time lows. I was reading something that said that we're actually 0.125 lower than we were a year ago. And we thought that, those rates were amazing then. So we are still holding, although there is talk that they will start to increase the interest rate leading towards the tail end of the year. But nothing like into the 4s. I think we'll probably gradually see the increase go from like 3s and low and high 2s right now. We're still there into like your 3.5 to 3.75 towards the tail end and beginning of next year, which is still great.
Yeah, it really makes these higher priced homes very affordable in the monthly payment. So it would be really tough to see the interest rate go up. I really think that would be the thing that would cause the market to make that shift and inventory to go up, is if it started to become unaffordable from the sense that if rates push the payment.
We had that happen earlier this year. I mean, we came into the year really low with rates, and then all of a sudden they just shot up to about 4%, almost a full point. And there was panic amongst all of us because we were wondering what this was going to look like for everybody. And then they kind of settled back down. And to your point, it did shock some people, but then there were some people who were like fear of missing out, and maybe they waited on the sideline, and so they were jumping in just in case it did happen to go to the next step. And so I believe that watching that, I think even the economy and the economists who are looking at this, I don't know that they would do it at that accelerated pace. Obviously that was market driven. There was some stuff happening with stock markets, Bitcoin, and all this cryptocurrency and all this other stuff. And actually with the COVID and everything like that. And so that kind of led to that. But I believe if we had control over it, they will steadily increase it. And I don't think that it'll jump up that high like in a few months. So
I saw an article that sometimes you have to question where your source is, right? So, but something about talks of starting in around November. Did you see that? Okay, because I'm just wondering. Yeah,
Q3 they're saying we're going to pretty much stay, which we're almost at the end of Q3, right? Which is crazy. And then we will, or actually no, we're in Q3. They are saying by Q4 that you'll start to see about a 0.25% increase, which is still, I mean, that makes $35 in a payment. It's still low compared to where we were in the fives, just a couple years ago. So still really affordable.
Oh, I definitely agree on that. Just in general, I don't think people should time the market. If you need a home or you need to buy a home, like timing the market is a tough thing to do because you really don't know. And if you go back to the whole rent versus or, try to figure it out, it really ultimately is your budget that matters, to most people.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think if we're looking at the purchase situation, the rental market is just as crazy, right? And so if you have the ability to get into a home today, you're securing basically, you always talk about this, your future, right? And that one, you're not going to have a landlord that's going to say, oh, I've decided now to sell the house, even though you've been in here for 4 or 5 years or whatever the case may be. And it's your home. You get to do whatever you want in there. And you have rent control, basically, right? Just because outside of property taxes and maybe your homeowner's insurance, you really do have that as a fixed cost for you.
Absolutely. And then, selling a current house that you live in to make a change for another, there are ways to maneuver that. I mean, thank goodness so many people I know and helped over the years own houses today.
Yeah.
Sometimes you kind of get that itch that you want to change, and it is possible. I know a lot of times people right now are staying put a little longer. And I think that, talk to someone, talk to your trusted advisor, because I think there are ways to maneuver a change if a change is in your horizon. The other thing, the eviction moratorium, still in effect. Curious how, when that ends up going, if we see some more tenant occupied properties come on the market, that could happen. Yeah. What are your predictions on the market with these small quarter increases?
I think it's going to, for us personally, I think it will slow, it always slows down, or not slows down, it's always a little bit of a shell shock when it happens. And then people realize, okay, this is just our new world. And then and so people settle into the fact that it's going to be a 0.25% higher. And so I think initially when it always comes out, or we get that increase, even for us as a lender, we're like, oh no, we got to go back into our pipeline and make sure that our buyers are all qualified. And then we get them settled into realizing it's, just $35, $40, depending on what that may be.
Don't not buy a house over that small amount.
Yeah.
I know what I was going to say. So let's say that we still have people that are in forbearance, but a big number of people start shifting out of it. Those numbers are getting lower and lower. Do you think that because the rates are so low and they can go to refinance, that's the relief that we're seeing, bridge the gap to get so many of these people out of the forbearance?
I think there's multiple things that banks are doing for our homeowners today. They're doing modifications, right? They're taking the unpaid payments and basically deferring them. That 40-year term has also been something that they've thrown out there recently. So taking it from, even if they were a 25 term at the time, they'll extend it all the way to 40 with that new balance. And so I think the banks have been really instrumental in assisting our homeowners to kind of work themselves out. I actually saw a statistic that was saying that 2 million homeowners across the country are in forbearance. 18% of them are struggling to find a way out, but everybody else has either found a modification, are in a forbearance plan, or have actually exited forbearance safely. And so I think thinking of that, one perspective is the housing crisis in 2006, 9 million homes were foreclosed on. We have 2 million homes that are in forbearance, and only 17%, 18% of them are struggling to find a way out. Everybody else has pretty much figured it out or gotten into a plan. So I think from that perspective, banks are here, or the servicers are really here to help our homeowners out, and they're here faster, right? Back in the day, it took months for them to figure out how to even get to get into an opportunity to try to modify your home, and such an extraneous process. But
people put themselves in a predicament.
Oh,
they would strategically stop making their payment, even though they could have, just to try to get a readjustment, and then it would put them in a bad situation. I know several people who went that route, and then it backfired on them.
Yeah, and that's a great, point on how it changed from then and today. I think we learned our lesson, for sure.
Yeah.
Right, and so I think from that, the forbearance aspect of it, although I know that there are some that are really struggling through the forbearance aspect of making their payments, but I think banks are really being helpful in that regard.
Right. What things do you think could cause, we talked about rates, but what other things could be an effect on possibly being an opposite effect? Right now, the truth is the data shows it's increased the price of homes, right?
Yeah.
What could stop that?
I can't even really say, you can't, because COVID, I think everybody thought immediately, this is it, we're going through another crisis, and now it's not a housing crisis, but it's a medical crisis, whatever you want to call it, and we made it out just fine, right? We figured it out. I think not even problem, but I think what's happening today is truly inventory. And I lived in that the era of the housing crisis, right? And I know we talked about this, I worked for a builder here in Las Vegas specifically, and the top 4 builders' goals were to build 10,000 units each. Today, we have maybe 10,000 units amongst all of the home builders building here in the Valley. And back then, we didn't even have 50% of the population that we do today.
I know, the amount of permits pulled is just amazing when you look at that. And then today it's like, boop.
Yeah, so considering that, that's like a cause and effect, right? A true cause and effect. Now, what could come in and we used to be.
I know, we just had a natural
exactly right.
So
you can't really. Even with the tourism sector of it. So back then we were really heavy tourism, and I don't know that we are as much today. We definitely have bigger companies, more professional companies that are here in Las Vegas, and so I really don't know what it would take to, I hope I don't have to see that, what it would take to see it go the other way.
Well, it's a tough question, because I always think about it, because, I talk to people who feel on both spectrums, and I always think I look at this data all the time, and I can't see the trend. Where do I see the trend changing, and so my predictions are, I think we'll start to see a little bit of, as inventory increases, in a sense it's doing it so slowly that we might see this flattening out. And I also think that in Vegas, it's also driven by location.
I agree.
Some locations are not as hot as others.
Yeah.
And, it just depends. So we're looking at a big number that's of everything, averaging it in. And then you pick other parts of town. Because I had a listing that didn't sell right away. It was nice, it was remodeled, and you would have thought that would have sold quickly. It did, and it sold for the list price, but ultimately it just didn't go as fast as we might have thought.
Yeah.
And then, so you just sometimes don't know. I think I've talked to a few other agents like, oh, my listings are, some of them are sitting. And it's because, the way we run comps, we always look to see what's sold and then, what the market will do, right? You're trying to gauge, well, a buyer bought at that price, so now we can go to this price, or we could be right there. And how do you know when you're pushing too much, right? And then of course, sometimes sellers have a number that they've made up and you kind of have to roll with that for a minute. So it's just kind of interesting. I think that there's people that are selling right now, trying to capitalize on this high market. But you have to have somewhere to go live. I mean, so it's kind of like, oh, if you already have a backup plan, great. But if not, what are you going to do?
Yeah. I mean, that's, as far as the new listings that have come up on, to the market, what do you think has shifted that just all of a sudden, people are starting to come out and list their homes? Do you think it's because they're
sitting on a mountain of equity?
Yeah, and where are they going?
And it feels great.
Yeah. So they're renting, do you think?
No, I haven't had that many do that. I had one couple do that. They were pretty adamant about their views on the market and their price range for what they want. And unfortunately, they're priced out of what they had wanted at that time today, because we're now 6 months later, and every month it's been a 10,000 increase. So that I think that when that happens, you have to reevaluate. Maybe go back, in my opinion, look at where you're getting your data. I have all these Google searches set up, these Google alerts, and I put in like Lawrence Yun, for instance. I put in the chief economic analyst for Zillow. I mean, I listen to these people's input because they have so much data they're constantly looking at. Like Keller Williams, the spokesperson for them will speak up and I will read their articles. So I do that, and then I have certain market watch that I'll listen to. So I'm trying to take in different data points, different points of views, so that I can then come up with my own thoughts, but take in a lot of different data. I mean, I think that's really the key to making good decisions anyways.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's why we're here. We're kind of trying to share what we're listening to and taking in when maybe you don't have that kind of time to look at all those things.
Right, and that makes us truly the advisor, right? And giving the information out to clients who, perhaps are hearing different things, and it's a different perspective. And I think the great thing is that you're coming with specific statistics, and
we try to.
Yeah, all the time, which is great because, I think everybody's going to have their opinion on what's going to happen. And, some are going to always be half glass full, half not. So it depends on what you're reading. But, for us, I feel like everything that I'm reading with respect to, even what happened in the past, where we are today, the qualifying aspect of it, inventory, everything just looks to me to be like that we'll stay on course to still continue to appreciate and continue to have great sales. It's just going to be a slower pace of that.
I think there's another factor, and it is because there's inflation in the dollar, right? That everything should be valued more. That's why cars are more expensive right now. I mean, there's just, we just were in a unique situation where my husband traded out his truck and got a new truck, same year, same exact mileage, just got rid of the Jeep because it was too small for us, and then got a full-size truck. And we literally, at sticker price, like when we bought that one versus this one, we got a more expensive, nicer vehicle for absolute even swap.
Really?
Yes. Wow. Because of the demand for used cars right now. And it was amazing.
That's great, though.
Yeah. I mean, but that wouldn't exist. Like, I actually priced out my car that we could take my car and trade it in. I could probably make $7,000 on it. What would I buy? That's the problem.
What would you buy?
I would like to go electric, but I'm waiting for more electric cars to come out. And there needs to be more variety, in my opinion.
Yeah. I will tell you, electric has been a benefit now, and everybody who, 5 years ago when I was like, I'm going to make this leap of faith, when I was at Costco the other day and I saw this line all the way out to the street, I'm like, wow, I'm so grateful that I have an electric car.
It's over $4, the gas price. Yes. So there you go, another
inflation. That's right. Yeah, all over the place.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see when What I understand in general is that once it's inflated, it's hard to reverse it. It's you could stop it with different things, but that also slows the economy, so that's part of the reason the rates are low and all these things. But I don't know. I don't know if it'll be a while before we see certain prices of things come back to what we used to know.
Yeah.
It's always a new normal now.
Yeah, I mean, even speaking to the construction and that aspect of it, I mean, it was at one point lumber, and then it shifted to paint, and then it shifted to appliances, delivery because of delays in that. So I think you're going to see that happen across the board, just in general with everything. So.
Well, it always comes back to mindset to me, because there's scarcity mindset and then there's growth mindset. Yeah. So if you live in a world where there's not enough of anything and it's always the scarcity, then I can see that point of view come out. But I can also see the point of view of, well, everything's going to keep growing.
That's right.
Because, and I see that point of view more in my thinking in life. But
I do as well.
But I think that, if you're listening to us and you're like, what are they, read some books on mindset, growth mindset versus scarcity mindset, because it makes a big difference in the way you view the world, that half full, half empty outlook.
Yeah, I agree. I'm 100% behind that on outlook and mindset and how you see things, for sure.
That's right. Yeah. Well, thank you. I think we've probably covered most of everything. We'll make sure we have the statistics for you to download and look at it for yourself, look at all the graphs. And we just want to thank you for your time. If you have any questions for either one of us, feel free to reach out. We're always here for you. And subscribe to the YouTube channel. That way you'll get these videos without me emailing them to you. All right, well, have a great day, and thank you.